Welcome back, focused learners. Let's jump right into today's explainer, because we're tackling a topic that is, well, practically everywhere right now, but rarely discussed with any real clarity. Today, we're breaking down the work and philosophy of Reverend Colleen Irwin, specifically her framework for true spiritual maturity. Now, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer volume of spiritual advice out there and kind of wondered how to separate the truly profound from the superficial, you are absolutely going to love this deep dive into the absolute necessity of spiritual discernment.
Right off the bat, we're looking at a pretty stark contrast. I mean, we see spiritual aesthetics all over social media, right? The curated spaces, the perfect lighting, that very specific look. But Irwin draws a really hard line between that whole modern trend and what she calls real magic. You see, real magic, it isn't about looking spiritual at all. It's actually about the quiet, kind of unglamorous, everyday choices we make. It's a powerful distinction, and it completely sets the stage for what we're exploring today.
Okay. Let's dive into our roadmap for today. 1. Moving beyond spiritual aesthetics. 2. A grounded spiritual guide. 3. The trap of avoidance. 4. The necessity of discernment. And 5. True spiritual maturity.
Section 1. Beyond spiritual aesthetics and finding what is real and grounded.
If you spend any time in wellness or spiritual circles, you know for sure there is absolutely no shortage of vague love and light messaging. But Irwin's work points out a really critical flaw here. When life gets genuinely hard, vague inspiration just doesn't cut it. We need something real, something actionable. In fact, in her August 2026 article, Irwin points out that real magic grows quietly through everyday choices. She explains it's not found in curating a perfect aesthetic. Actually, it shows up whenever our lives start reflecting true, grounded alignment. It's not about putting on a show, you know? It's about those daily, quiet, often totally unnoticed choices we make to align with our deepest truths.
Section 2. A grounded spiritual guide. Introducing Reverend Colleen Irwin.
So Irwin is a psychic medium, a spiritual teacher, and an author who is fiercely dedicated to helping women step boldly into what she calls their second season of life. It's all about navigating major life transitions with clarity instead of confusion. And honestly, her background might surprise you. She's got over 35 years of experience, has written more than 1,850 articles, and published 2 books. But her secret weapon? It's an extensive background in IT consulting and real estate. Yeah, seriously. Working in the corporate world taught her how to truly listen, think critically, and most importantly, how to take incredibly complex concepts and make them feel simple and accessible.
And that pragmatic, totally no-nonsense background, it translates directly into her spiritual work. As she puts it on her site, no overwhelming mysticism, no vague answers. She actually shares that for most of her life, people told her she was too sensitive or just imagining things. But today, she uses those exact instincts to provide clear, honest guidance. She's actively working to cut right through the confusing noise that so often surrounds spiritual development.
Section 3. The trap of avoidance, and when spirituality becomes a hiding place.
Now, Irwin writes a lot about the danger of what many folks call spiritual bypassing. She warns that spirituality with actual, practical grounding doesn't just become unhelpful, it can actually become dangerous. She asks this very direct, kind of provocative question. Are you using crystals to avoid your real work? Now, she absolutely acknowledges that beautiful tools have their place as reminders of intention and healing, but she challenges us to examine if we're using them as a crutch, an excuse to avoid doing the heavy lifting of necessary and sometimes really painful personal growth.
And this brilliantly illustrates her core philosophy on spiritual tools. As she wrote back in July 2026, you don't need another tool. You need to go deeper within. The main issue we face on our spiritual journey is rarely a lack of tools or tarot cards or crystals. We keep looking for these external fixes when the real work is recognizing our failure to just go deeper with what we already have.
Section 4. The necessity of discernment. Recognizing the truth.
So, if the trap is ungrounded avoidance, then the absolute necessity is developing a robust sense of spiritual discernment. So the crucial point here is how we actually define this term. Straight from her Discernment 101 article, she defines it super clearly. Discernment is not about finding certainty. It is about learning to recognize truth when you encounter it. It's so common for us to just freeze up because we're looking for 100% certainty. But discernment, it's simply the practice skill of recognizing what is true and what is aligned, even right in the middle of all that uncertainty.
A really huge part of this discernment is understanding the difference between attraction and alignment. Irwin points out that we so often chase what we're attracted to, right? What looks good or what feels exciting in the moment. But she strongly urges a shift toward alignment. She writes that if you choose alignment over attraction, you might just discover that what you were frantically seeking all along was simply waiting for you to be ready to meet it. It's a massive paradigm shift, moving away from constantly chasing and moving toward becoming.
And hey, discernment isn't just some nice theory, it is a muscle. Irwin frequently posts these rapid intuition exercises on her Instagram to prove exactly this. She walks her followers through these simple steps. Step 1, take a deep breath and find your center. Step 2, focus solely on the hidden objects she presents. And step 3, just trust your inner instincts to locate it. It sounds incredibly simple, sure, but her point is that intuition and discernment only grow robust with consistent, grounded practice. You literally have to actively work that muscle.
Section 5. True spiritual maturity and holding experiences with responsibility. Okay, so we've talked about avoiding just the aesthetics, about going deeper, and about building that discernment. But what's the actual end goal of all this practical, grounded magic? Well, Irwin's philosophy clearly asserts that validation is not development. True spiritual maturity doesn't take away the wonder or the awe of mystical experiences, not at all, but it absolutely forces us to hold those experiences with a much, much greater sense of responsibility. You aren't just looking for a random sign to validate what you already want to hear. Instead, you're developing the maturity to handle the actual truth responsibly.
I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful quote from her recent writings. Spiritual practice without discernment is not spiritual maturity. I mean, wow, that perfectly encapsulates everything we've explored today. Ask yourself right now, how much real grounded discernment are you bringing to your own journey? Are you chasing aesthetics and absolute certainty, or are you quietly doing the real work of aligning with the truth? Think on that for a bit, and I'll see you in the next explainer.